It is good to have you join me on yet another episode of the program Service to Humanity, a program designed to update you on the activities of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. The year 2021 was a very definitive year for the ministry. It settled down to implement its mandate, institutionalizing a number of its processes and policies. Quite a number of milestones were recorded. As we continue with the series, we shall be going down memory lane to see some of those programs that defined 2021 for the ministry. I am your anchor, Hafsat Mustafa Hadija. Join me after the break for this journey through 2021.
The Empower program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you for all what you have been doing for us.
Before we go down memory lane to look at the major events in 2021, let's get highlights of some recent activities in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Please stay tuned for the Management Diary.
Following the unfortunate fire incident that engulfed Next Cash and Carry Supermarket in Abuja, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, has paid a visit to the site to convey the sympathies of the federal government. The minister, who described the incident as a sad development for the country, pledged the support of the government to the management of the supermarket towards the resuscitation of the business. The minister, who toured the scene of the fire, encouraged business owners and other commercial and public buildings to put in place fire prevention measures. Hajia Sadiya Umar Farouk, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, has called for effective collaboration among relevant stakeholders to address drug abuse and its devastating consequences. She stated this at an awareness campaign against drug and substance abuse and illicit trafficking organized recently by the ministry in Abuja. Represented by Mansur Kulia, Acting Director, Department of Social Development in the ministry, the minister said the fight against drug abuse cannot work if it is not done collectively and universally. The minister stressed that parents, guardians, village heads, the government, non-governmental organizations, and civil society organizations all play a role in preventing addiction and drug abuse in children. Present at the event was the Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, represented by Mrs. Helen Emuze. The NAPTIP DG stated that human and drug trafficking are organized crimes that have a devastating impact on victims and their families, and she believes those present at the awareness program will return with positive messages. Earlier, the Permanent Secretary Bashir Noura Al-Kali reiterated the negative consequences of substance abuse on the society, especially amongst youths. Al-Kali, who was represented by the Director, Human Resource Management, Mr. Abdulrahman Babatunde Jaji, urged the mass media to join hands in stamping out substance and drug abuse. Other participants at the media orientation and awareness on substance and drug abuse were representatives of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, the Nigerian Correctional Service, Nigerian Immigration Service, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the media. The federal government has declared October 5th as the National Day for Senior Citizens in Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari made the declaration at the first Presidential Summit on Aging and Award ceremony held at the Eradua Center, Abuja on Friday, 17th December 2021. In his keynote address, the president, who was represented by the Minister of Interior Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, stated that 4.7% of Nigeria's population, which comes to over 9 million, are senior citizens. who have contributed their best to the development of the country. He, however, observed that the elderly have not been treated fairly and with dignity. He said the federal government is committed to mobilizing capital resources needed to develop the appropriate mechanism that will be geared towards promoting and providing unhindered access to social services for the elderly. Earlier, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, said President Buhari has demonstrated political goodwill and commitment to improve the quality of life and well-being of senior citizens beyond any other administration in Nigeria's history. She then promised that the president would not be let down in ensuring an inclusive society where strategic investments to enhance the dignity, capacities, security and well-being of older persons benefit the young and old. The keynote address at the summit was presented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mr. Bashir Noura Al-Ghali. His paper was titled The Stakes for Policy, a Legal Framework and Implications for Social Inclusion of Older Persons, where he stated that the National Policy on Aging and the National Senior Citizen Center Act 2017, which was also unveiled at the summit, will go a long way in improving the standard of living of aging persons in the country. Health checks were carried out on many senior citizens during the summit, while awards of excellence were given to 8 deserving senior citizens, including Elder Nathaniel Okporo, the first indigenous managing director of the Nigeria Railway Corporation, Chief Richard Olajide Idowu, the first blind television producer and radio presenter, as well as Hajia Saudatu Usman Bungudu, a one-time Minister of Human Affairs and Social Development, amongst others.
When 2020 ended, quite a number of women were struggling with the effects of COVID-19 in their homes and livelihoods. There was need to give women a lifeline, especially those of them in the rural areas. The conditional cash grants for rural women was such innovation by the ministry to do that. Even though the initiative was flagged off in 2020, early 2021 saw the minister and her management team flagging off the initiative across the states of the Federation. Let's take some sights and sounds from some of those states where the initiative was flagged off.
Cash grant from His Excellency Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari, for you to go and start a business. Thank you.
That was the ceremony that flagged off the 20,000 Naira cash grant to rural women by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. The cash grant to rural women was initiated as one of the Social Safety Nets program of the Buhari administration with the aim of economically empowering women, increase accessibility to resources especially for women in the rural areas, reduce poverty and help in the attainment of Goal 5 of the SDGs, which is gender equality. It is a one-off grant of 20,000 Naira that will benefit over 150,000 rural women across the 774 local government areas in the country and was introduced to help cushion the economic impact of COVID-19. The cash grant is quite different from the conditional cash transfer initiative.
The cash grant to rural women was introduced basically to foster women economic empowerment, as to increase accessibility to resources for the women in rural areas so that they can establish businesses that will sustain their livelihood. So basically that is why the cash, it is a strand of a transfer, and amongst other social investment programs, it was recently introduced to further help in reducing poverty in Nigeria. As you know, we have challenges with poverty.
From the plateau in north-central Nigeria, the cash grant for rural women train moved to Ebonyi, southeast Nigeria, flagging off the distribution in that zone. Here, the minister urged the women to judiciously utilize the funds to either support an already existing business, revive a dying one, or start up a new business.
I would like to say that this particular program that we're here to launch today is also another very important program that, if effectively and efficiently utilized by our women, it will go a long way in alleviating the sufferings and the hardships that we go through. I would like to also use this opportunity to appeal to the women to please judiciously use this support in a very effective way by way of investing this money so that they can have many folds in the next few months.
With the successful flag-offs in the north and south, the cash grant for rural women train moved across the country to the various zones. From Kano to Imo State, Ogun and Lagos states, Akwa Ibom, Niger, Delta, Kaduna, across the 6 geopolitical zones, the women turned out in their numbers to receive government intervention to better their lives. Government officials on behalf of their states lauded the federal government for the intervention, which they affirmed will change the economic outlook of women in their states.
I'm delighted to be here to perform this flag-off ceremony.
We have to extend our appreciation to Mr. President for creating the National Social Investment Programs. And they are programs that particularly touch the heart of people and also bring about the most desired human development.
There was singing and dancing and other means of expressing their joy over the gesture. And from across the country, as these women received the intervention, they expressed gratitude to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Our Father Buhari give me to take start life. And here to thank him, I pray for God Almighty. May God carry him along. May God bless her. May God abandon her as he do, make he do all this.
Ó ṣeun dáadáa, ó ṣeun gidi, ọwọ́ aka lọ síwájú, ẹni lọ sẹ́yìn.
You are watching Service to Humanity, and in this episode, we are reviewing some major happenings that define the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in the year 2021. For senior citizens, the year 2021 will always remain engraved in the history of their struggle for better recognition and welfare. Even though the Senior Citizen Center Act was signed into law in 2018, 2021 is the year the plans crystallized. Let us review some of the moments for senior citizens in our next segment.
The creation of a Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has given senior citizens a more structured platform for government intervention. It also aided the actualization of a long struggle to establish senior citizen centers across the country, as provided for in the Act signed into law in 2018. It all started with a meeting organized by the ministry towards the end of 2020 to discuss the actualization of the Senior Citizens Center as stipulated by the Senior Citizens Act. Here, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs expressed delight at the process that was in motion, while also appreciating the President for creating an enabling environment for the Senior Citizens Center to take off.
In Nigeria, the proportion of older persons is going against the background of socio-economic hardship, poverty, poor health facilities, and lack of access to education. It must be noted that older persons are recognized as active agents of societal development. We therefore stand to limit our chances of achieving sustainable human development if we do not make conscious and sustained efforts to recognize and appreciate the contributions of our senior citizens in the socio-economic development of our country.
On the 31st of May 2021, the actualization of the Senior Citizen Center got a major boost with the announcement of an 11-member board by President Muhammadu Buhari. The board is to be chaired by retired AVM Muhammad as chairman and Dr. Omokaro as Director General. On the 8th of June 2021, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs inaugurated the board, encouraging board members to be diligent to duty while also explaining the purpose behind the establishment of a Senior Citizens Center.
In Nigeria, aging is a growing challenge against the background of accumulated socio-economic hardships, high absolute poverty, poor health facilities, and lack of access to education over time. While taking steps to reduce poverty and ensure inclusiveness of most Nigerians to be productive, this administration has recognized the special needs of older persons as active agents of societal development. It is in this regard that the government made conscious efforts to establish the center to develop and implement productive activities, social protection, and work schemes for senior citizens in order to improve the quality of life of the elderly and ensure a sense of security and a general feeling of health and worthiness extended to them.
Earlier on, the Permanent Secretary had assured Nigerians that members of the board were carefully chosen professionals with a track record of proven integrity. He also committed the ministry to supporting the center achieve its objectives.
With adequate knowledge of the needs and thoughts of the older citizens, and with therefore, without any doubt, adequately ensure policies that will benefit our distinguished aging population. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you that the ministry will do everything within its power under the able leadership of the Honorable Minister to assist this center to take off successfully.
Dr. Omokaro, DG of the Senior Citizens Center, in an interview, spoke on the struggle by senior citizens to achieve recognition at what Nigeria stands to gain by investing in older persons.
We have fought long and hard for a policy. We have fought long and hard for an establishment of a coordinating center, and now here we are, we have it. We have a national policy on aging, and then we have now an agency on aging. And so now the systems and the mechanisms, the policy to direct the processes are in place. So now, today we have been inaugurated. So we are on this side looking out. And an opportunity to thank all the senior citizens of Nigeria for their patience, their endurance, and I think today too also they should also excel that now there is a platform to coordinate, to articulate, strategically plan, and then spell out the programs and the activities, especially now that we have the acts directing and mandating, and we have the policy to direct.
In August of 2021, senior citizens held their first ever dialogue for older persons across the country. The meeting, which brought together senior citizens representing various categories including the urban and rural, the military and paramilitary, as well as the public and private sectors, was to find out the major problems facing the elderly through dialogue, get senior citizens to know their rights by law, identify their needs and cater to those needs. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the chairman of the governing board of the Senior Citizen Center, as well as the DG of the center alongside other speakers, appreciated the establishment of the center to cater for the needs and welfare of older persons in the society, while appreciating the president for creating the platform.
In developing the national policy on aging and establishing the National Senior Citizen Center, the government of His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari has ensured that the very essential institutions, systems and mechanisms to facilitate the quality of life, economic and social participation of older persons are guaranteed, and that the challenges of older persons and the opportunities that accrue from meeting these challenges are integrated into Nigeria's development plans. I'm also delighted to say that the establishment of the National Senior Citizen Center, the concerns of older persons are no longer handled in discretionary and arbitrary manner, but are now addressed comprehensively as detailed in the National Senior Citizen Center Act and the National Policy on Aging, which is soon to be operationalized by the center, is now a guiding document on the operations of the center.
There is no way we can identify the needs of senior citizens and cater for those needs as directed by the Act without forging an engagement mechanisms. We have to dialogue. But as we dialogue, I want us to have in mind that this population category is very diverse. Very diverse. That is why we were deliberate in selecting the senior citizens from the different categories, broad categories, to give the good message to them. So in looking at them, you're looking at exactly the variety and the uniqueness of the needs that we have been asked to cater for.
The year 2021 ended on a positive note with the first ever Presidential Summit on Aging and the National Senior Citizen Center Aging and Distinguished Lifetime Awards. This culminated in the declaration of October 5th as the National Day for Older Persons. President Muhammadu Buhari and 8 others received awards at the event, which held on the 17th of December 2021.
Empower program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you. Thank you for all what I've been doing for us.
"2021 was indeed a year full of many pluses for the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and we promise to continue with this review in our next episode of the program Service to Humanity. Support government to provide social inclusion for Nigeria's most vulnerable. Until I come your way again next week, stay safe. Don't forget to send in questions and suggestions to any of our platforms. See you next week.